California for doing the same thing. That, of course, the host, legendary radio host Charlamagne Tha God, grilling the current Democrat ticket. Over the past year, he has been one of the toughest interviewers they've faced, and now he has announced who he's voting for. It is change agent Kamala Harris. But doesn't he just mean that he's voting for Joe Biden? He's here, best-selling author and my friend, Charlamagne Tha God. Hello, dear.
Kennedy, my friend, how are you? I miss you.
I miss you, too. I am not shocked that you're voting for Kamala Harris because I think you have some inside dirt. Is Joe Biden going to step down on day one and let Kamala be the real president?
I don't know anything about that. You know, I don't know Joe Biden personally. But, you know, it's just hard to vote for Joe Biden because his record sucks, you know, especially in regards to mass incarceration. You know, when he was on the Breakfast Club, another part of that interview that people miss is I asked him about the 94 crime bill and the 94 crime bill being the catalyst for mass incarceration in this country. And he said it wasn't the crime bill, it was the 86 mandatory minimum sentencing. But I'm like, Joe, you wrote that too.
He authored that as well. And
exactly.
He has a very, very sketchy past in terms of criminal justice reform. And when you talk about systemic racism, that's the system. That's the system that was built. That was the incentive given to states in the 94 crime bill from the federal government. He was the one acting on behalf of the federal government in the legislative branch, authoring all of that. So I could not vote for a person like that.
Yeah, and I haven't seen what he plans to atone through legislation for the role, you know, he played in that system. So it just makes it hard for me as a black man to fully support that. But I still think he can be pushed and challenged and held accountable. And, you know, but either way, I'm fine voting for Senator Harris and challenging the administration every chance I get if they get in the White House.
I know that she's smitten with you. I do think you guys, I'm not saying you have a texting relationship, but I wouldn't be surprised. And I wouldn't be surprised if she's batting her eyelashes at you via text or on FaceTime being like, come on, Charlamagne, you know I'm going to be the president very soon. Wink, wink, you're going to be in my cabinet. That's a euphemism.
No, I haven't heard any of that.
But, okay, so yesterday 50 Cent said on Instagram that he's voting for Trump. He wants everyone to vote for Trump. He said, I know Trump doesn't like black people, but still my taxes are going to go up to 62% in New York City. And you went on the record and said this is the only president, a Republican presidential person seeking re-election or election in the first place who has reached out to young black voters. Does that make a difference with those voters?
I think that the reaching out definitely does. You know, reaching out and, you know, advertising directly to young black male voters, yeah, it's effective because, you know, we don't get courted, but it doesn't change the way that I feel because, you know, unlike 50 Cent, I can't pick, you know, racism and bigotry and fascism. You know, I can't choose that over my finances. My finances might just have to take a hit. You know, we got to get that out. We got to get that fascism out of the White House. But I'm not mad at 50. I mean, honestly, 50 just said out loud what a lot of people were thinking. You know, when I saw that, I thought that. To be totally honest, I didn't think I would vote for Trump, but I was like, Jesus Christ. I live in New Jersey and work in New York.
Yeah.
So I'm getting hit both states.
No, you get hit in both states. So if you live in New Jersey and you work in New York, it's one of the few states where even if you live somewhere else, you still have to pay New York City taxes. It's a garbage system. And I understand why people become single-issue voters, but I have to say, and you and I have talked about politics a lot, I would rather people investigate the issues than get invested in the people because I think anyone who wants to be president is out of their mind. I think if you want to be that powerful, there's inherently something wrong with you. And Kamala Harris, I have a problem with her because I lived in California when she was Attorney General, and I read about her when she was DA in San Francisco. And this woman was very, very pro-police. In fact, in her 2009 book, Smart on Crime, she said, if we take a show of hands of those who would like to see more police officers on the street, mine would shoot up. Virtually all law-abiding citizens feel safer when they see officers walking the beat. She's singing a different tune today, isn't she?
Yeah, but I mean, I've heard public defenders say that she was the most progressive prosecutor in San Francisco. And, you know, that's what kind of made me gravitate towards her. When I started researching her back in 2015, you know, I saw some of the progressive things she was doing as a prosecutor. You know, the Back on Track program that set nonviolent offenders on a path to new jobs. She led a task force that was combating human trafficking of young girls. She stopped prosecuting the young girls for prostitution.
She stopped prostituting young girls.
No, she she stopped prosecuting young girls for prostitution and acknowledged that they needed treatment for trauma and they weren't criminals who needed to be incarcerated. And I like the fact that she refused to seek the death penalty, even on a case where a respected police officer was tragically killed.
Yeah, she got a lot of heat for that because
Absolutely.
at the funeral, Dianne Feinstein stood up and said, "I want to see the death penalty for that cop killer." And now Di-Fi is in a whole lot of trouble. Last question. I think Joe Biden is going to be elected. I do. I look at the polling. I'm not voting for him. Sorry. I'm not voting for President Trump either. Not a big surprise. But what happens? What do you see happening in New York City and New Jersey and the rest of the country? Some of these hot spots where people have been making their voices heard, but also people have been causing a lot of trouble and hurting other people. What happens if Trump is reelected? What do you see?
Man, if Trump is reelected, I think it's going to be a lot of trouble. I think it's going to be trouble either way, though. I think it's going to be trouble if Trump is reelected. I think it's going to be trouble if Biden and Harris get in the White House, just because we've seen how Donald Trump has incited his side. You know, I mean, goddamn, they tried to kidnap the governor of Michigan. You know what I mean? Like, I saw something today where they were plotting to kidnap and kill Biden and Harris. So, I mean, I think either way, it's going to be some trouble. I don't know if that trouble is going to last days. I don't know if it's going to last weeks. I don't know if it's going to last months. But what I've been telling everybody is I am a proud believer in my Second Amendment rights.
That's right.
And I think owning a legal firearm in America as a black person is a form of self-care.
Absolutely right, Charlamagne. Absolutely right. You're a constitutionalist at heart, and that's why I love you. Thank you so much. Kennedy. I'll talk to you soon.